Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the very first Bears win of the season. We're now 1-1. We'll be talking some baseball and a whole lot more. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. Sure, the season is not going on yet, but it will be starting in just a few short weeks. So head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, sign up for season tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, how does it feel to be experiencing a victory of a Chicago Bears?
Woo! Honestly, more relieving than anything, because you really did not want to start off 0-2 and then have to go back out on the road and play another contending team on the road. So really, at the end of the day, getting the win today at home was pretty big.
I think so. That Browns game is going to be really tough. The only chance I think the Bears have is if they can get so far ahead that it sort of takes the running game out of it for Cleveland. But I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. If you're going to beat Cleveland next week, you're going to have to completely revamp your game calling and your game plan offensively next week. Because look, what you take away from today's victory is the defense won you the game. I don't think there's really any dispute over that. You look at the offense and you say, there's a lot of issues here. We had a game plan with Andy Dalton. We didn't have a game plan for Justin Fields. And when you don't have a game plan with a young quarterback, a lot of things can go wrong. And luckily, the defense did a complete 180 from last week. So if you have any chance whatsoever against the Browns in the doghouse next week, you're going to have a better game plan offensively, and a solidified one. And there's got to be some chemistry built offensively. We don't know who's going to be for sure under center right now. As we're talking on Sunday night, we don't know the severity of Andy Dalton's injury, but let's say for all intents and purposes, it is going to be Justin Fields in week 3. There's got to be a good game plan, and you want to make sure that the coaching can help get these guys on the same page, because let's face it, one of the problems in today's game, despite the win, was that there was a lot of things that were out of sync when Justin Fields came in offensively. So there's going to have to be a lot of things cleaned up for next week. I mean, it is really going to be a tough game. And even for a good team going to Cleveland, they're not the Browns that we know and love anymore. They're a good team. They're a high-powered offense, and they're going to come at you from all directions.
Yeah, and in this game, like you alluded to, is Andy Dalton started the game, and he actually was playing well.
I thought he did good. Yeah.
The offense started off good, marched down the field, got a touchdown. Under Andy Dalton in this game, the Bears didn't have any 3-and-outs, but he got hurt fairly early, and it was a weird thing. He was running to go out of bounds, and then he did like a plant step and just started jumping up and down. And then you saw him running on the sidelines and testing it out, and it looked like it was fine. According to the sideline reporters, he was telling everybody it's fine, and he went back in at one point, but then he came back out. So I don't know if he thought it was just saying fine and thought it was just like sore. And then when he went out there, was realizing he was having trouble planting or something. But he did not go back into the game. And I don't know if he would have been available had something happened to Justin Fields, or what the situation was.
Yeah, and sometimes knee injuries can be kind of tricky because it kind of depends on where you plant and how you plant. Depending on the knee injuries can just feel awful altogether, speaking from experience. But there have been knee injuries where if a certain part is hurt, torn, sprained, whatever, you could be walking forward or standing on it fine, but then maybe you plant a certain way and all of a sudden you're in a lot of pain. And I mean, if you're a quarterback, you're going to have to plant every different way when you're in and out of the pocket. So yeah, I mean, he was standing on the sideline in the second half, and I mean, he probably would have gone back in if he was asked to, but like you said, he didn't. We'll see really how severe this injury is. It might not be that severe, or maybe there's a little more to it that meets the eye. But yeah, I think regardless, you have to have Justin Fields. You got to keep building him up. You got to get practices with him with the number one guys. You got to build some chemistry here. I mean, this goes to show this scenario. You got a veteran quarterback with the guy right behind you. Injuries can happen at any point, and you might need to force him in there. And I know we all wanted to see Justin Fields play, but we didn't want to see him have to come in because of an injury. So that's an unfortunate part. But going forward,
I'm even going to go so far as to say is that, I was not rooting for, anything to happen to Andy Dalton. Like, I didn't want him to get hurt. I didn't want him to play so bad that they forced the issue. Like,
I didn't either.
I didn't want any of that. That's not, like, if what I wanted was the coaching staff to go, all right, listen, there's, he's outplaying Andy Dalton. That's really the situation I wanted, because, there's Andy Dalton has not done anything wrong. He's not wronged any Bears fans, and he's sort of gotten unfair heat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, I'm rooting for him because obviously if he's playing really well, it means the Bears are playing well. And that's what I want. Ultimately, I want the Bears to win. Mm-hmm. And I don't really care who the quarterback is that does that. If Andy Dalton is going to go out there and throw 250 for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions, we'll take that any day of the week.
Oh, I agree. Because there are people that just want to see Justin Fields as soon as possible. And I get it. I really do. I don't want to say that you're wrong for wanting to do that. We've seen what happens when we've had to force quarterbacks into dirty situations. And that's kind of what today was. That being said, I still think that coaching staff has a responsibility to have game plans ready and to have him have some sort of chemistry with the team. But it's still, it was an unfortunate situation he had to come in. But, remember with Trubisky, he came in because Michael Allen was so bad. And like you said in the show earlier, Andy Dalton was doing pretty well in this game before he went out. He was 9 for 11 passing. The first drive of the game it was a nice drive. It was nothing too crazy or too wacky creative. It was just, simple passing plays, a few run plays mixed in here or there. You see some more good things from Dave Montgomery, and Dalton made some nice throws, and ultimately you got a touchdown out of it. There was a nice rhythm when Andy Dalton was in the game.
Yeah. And, when Justin Fields came in, and if you just look at the box score, it's not going to look that good for Justin Fields. 6 of 13, 60 yards, no touchdowns, an interception, 2 sacks, and a 27.7 quarterback rating. That's not good, especially when Andy Dalton left the game with a 118.2 quarterback rating. But there was a lot of things that just don't go into that number. Like 2 touchdown passes dropped by Allen Robinson. I guess one was dropped. The other one, the guy got his arm into it. But honestly, if you are paid $22 million a year or whatever Allen Robinson is paid, you got to take that.
I'm a little less critical of that one because that was a well-defended ball, but the one that went through his hands, like, dude, come on, you got to make that catch.
Like, absolutely. He dropped that.
Yeah.
That absolutely changes the numbers on his on his quarterback rating by a
And it
lot.
wasn't just those two either. You remember there was a throw to Darnell Mooney down the sideline that went off his fingertips. That was a very well-placed ball. He was hitting him in stride. It was either late in the second or earlier in the third. I can't remember, but you know what I'm talking about, right? It was towards the sideline. It was a nice throw, and he just couldn't come up with it.
Right. And I mean, the only bad throw that Justin Fields had in this game was the interception. And that was just an absolute rookie mistake. He did not even see that guy.
Yeah.
So, that's going to happen. Those are the things you're going to have to live with when you do play a rookie quarterback. But, honestly, for me, the most frustrating part was once he went in, you saw some of the throws he was making. They were on the nose to give him some time. Heath was going downfield. He wasn't dinking and dunking. He was going for big chunks. And Matt Nagy pulled the reins in on him. And I get it. David Montgomery is your cowbell back. He's your workhorse back. Ride him. But you got to be smart about it. You can't just, he's not, this isn't like Emmitt Smith behind the 5 Hall of Fame linemen where it doesn't matter. You're not going to be able to stop him. This is a bad interior. Let me start by saying the interior of this offensive line has had 2 bad games in a row. Both guards in the center, 2 bad games in a row. And you have, a tackle that's probably retiring at the end of the year, and another one that he's played okay, but he's a journeyman. So you have a guy on his last legs, a journeyman, and three interior linemen that are playing bad. And if you just come out there and be like, we're going to pound the ball down your throat, guess what? You're not going to make it. And at the end of the game, he was forcing Justin Fields into 3rd and longs because he's running the ball twice and picking up 1-2 yards and leaving like 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. And in a tough game, you're putting your rookie quarterback in a real situation. Why didn't you utilize his legs more? Why didn't you roll him out and let him throw from the run? Why didn't you put him in the opportunity to win? Those are Matt Nagy things.
I want to see more play action.
Yeah. If the drop passes by Darnell Mooney, the drop pass by Allen Robinson, those are on them. The interception, that's on Justin Fields. The rest of the conservative play calling,
very John Fox like run pass.
It is Matt Nagy, and you're supposed to be an offensive genius. Go out there and do it. I got into a kind of like, I don't know, a tiff with some people at the end of the game when the Bears had it. It was like 3rd and goal from like the 6, and then they didn't make it. I'm like, go for it. You're going to pin them back. At that point, they'd only had gotten 3 points. The Bengals had only gotten 3 points. So it's like, you either get that touchdown or you leave Joe Burrow in that Bengals offense on their own couple of yard line when Burrow has just thrown 3 straight interceptions. And the Bears pass rush is starting to get to him. I like that situation. And the Bears ended up kicking it. And at the end of the game, I was like, okay, those 3 points ended up being important because that was the margin of victory there. But, it shouldn't have gotten like that because Matt Nagy just had bad play calling.
Here's what really annoyed me. I mean, just running on 1st down the same way every time. It was so predictable. I mean, that alone was irritating me. But I think if you wanted to point out a specific moment, it irritated me. It was the first Joe Burrow turnover. It wasn't really on him. He completed the pass, and then it was the fumble at midfield. That was forced by Eddie Jackson, which, by the way, good on you for shutting some people up, helping force and make that happen. But when that did happen, they got the ball like around midfield. I think they were technically in Bengals territory. And he runs the first 2 plays. I'm like, dude, you just got a turnover at midfield. Why not take a deep shot?
Literally, I tweeted that same thing. I tweeted that out. I was like, right after the turnover, I was like, now take a shot deep. Put the step on their throats. You go for the jugular, win this game. If they would have gotten that turnover and scored a touchdown quick, I think then all you get is that bad Joe Burrow, where he's forcing things, he's throwing under pressure. You take Joe Mixon out. Joe Mixon is their great equalizer because he's a guy that can really take over a game if you give him the opportunity. And the minute you can take away the run game from the Bengals and make them one-dimensional and pass, then that offensive line of the Bengals is not that good. You can really get the pass rush going, start jumping underneath routes and assuming that if they do a double move and beat you, that the pass rush is going to get there by then, and really put, the turn the screws on the Bengals. And the Bears had that opportunity and they chose not to. It's funny. We have this offensive guru head coach, and he's John Fox level conservative.
Yeah, playing not to lose. I mean, it drove me nuts. Like, I was getting PTSD from the run pass every time. It was driving me nuts. And I'm thinking, you have a quarterback that can move around and do a lot. Why aren't you doing more play action, especially when you have a guy like Montgomery who can run, who can catch, who can fight off tackles? Why does it have to be this conservative play calling? And I mean, even look when they got into the red zone, it was, more run. It's like, oh, now we got to pass on third down. It just drove me nuts. And it was, the Bengals knew what was coming at that point. So, I mean, come on, man. Just why not try to go for the jugular when you get a big turnover? I mean, they had 3 turnovers in a row. 3 in a row. And yeah, you went up 20-3, but you could have
wasn't it 4
really
turnovers?
made that a laugher.
Wasn't it 4 straight turnovers? Wasn't it a fumble and 3 interceptions?
Well, I don't know did the fumble come right? Were those back to back? That I honestly don't remember.
I think they were. I'd have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure they were. So it's 4 straight. Let me double check here.
Let me see. I have it. See, fumble. Yeah, fumble, interception. Yeah, you're right. So it's 3 straight interceptions, 4 straight turnovers.
Yeah. So they turned the ball over on 4 straight possessions, and you won the game by 3 points, and you only scored 20 points. Why? You're not capitalizing on turnovers. You've got to punish them. The best teams, after a turnover, they're taking a big shot because they just got a freebie. And they're taking that big shot. It's like going deep when you there's a defensive penalty and just taking a shot, because what's the worst that happens? It's the same thing with after a turnover. You just got a turnover, is go deep, take a big shot. And it doesn't have to be a touchdown. You don't have to go throw a 70-yard pass, but get a big chunk, get a big explosive play, get at least 25 yards. And that takes the wind out of their sails, and it really puts you in a driver's seat position. And that's what the Bears don't do.
To kind of put that in perspective of just everything, 4 straight turnovers and 13 points. So you had 4 straight turnovers and not even 2 touchdowns. 7 of those points came on a pick 6 by Roquan Smith, which was probably my favorite play of the game, by the way. But in all the others, you got 2 field goals and a punt. It's like, okay, that's not the worst, but consider this too. These turnovers were either in their territory or at midfield. It's not like you generated these turnovers in your end zone. So what I'm trying to say is that you had good field position all 3 times, because, obviously one of those was a pick 6, so you didn't have field position. You already scored. But on the other 3, Yeah, okay, you kick 2 field goals, great. That's 6 more points. It's a touchdown minus the extra point, okay. But you really could have made that a laugher. I mean, you really could have just made that a laugh right then and there. And, it could have, built a little more confidence with Justin Fields. Though I don't think confidence is going to be a big issue with him. I'm just saying that, you could have really just made that a complete laugher of a game right then and there. And you saw more of the classic struggles that you would see with the Bears in the red zone, having great field position, settling for field goals. It's frustrating, but, at least you got enough to win the game. And what I really liked about the defense, outside of just the turnovers, is that all game they had pressure and they covered very, very well in the secondary. I don't know if last week's game was a kick in the pants, but I mean, think about it. If they didn't generate all these turnovers, would they have won this game? I don't think so. Maybe not.
Did you read Eric Lambert's article?
No.
I don't know if you ever read any of his articles, but he had one that he wrote that per a source that the Bears defense last week played bad intentionally as a silent protest for Andy Dalton starting over Justin Fields.
What?
And that's what I said. I was like, no way. But then they played so much better when Justin Fields came in. And I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that it lent some credence to that article. The fact that they played really well once Justin Fields came in, like it gave them this boost.
Where did he get this source from? Did he cite anything?
I don't know.
That sounds ridiculous. And if that is true, and they miss the playoffs by a game, then they should honestly be put in stocks and have Bears fans throw tomatoes at them.
The Chicago Bears defense suffered at the hands of its own offense for a long time. Previous generations suffered in silence, for the most part, doing the best they could to carry the team alone. Is it possible the latest incarnation is taking matters into its own hands? That is the somewhat wild theory former player Michael Robinson offered during a segment of Good Morning Football on the NFL Network. Like many in the media, Robinson is of belief that the Bears head coach Matt Nagy is making a mistake by not playing Justin Fields. Though Andy Dalton might be more experienced, he is not the better quarterback. He is also somebody at the mercy of supporting cast around him, especially the offensive line. Inexperienced or not, Fields gives this team the best chance to win. By sticking with Dalton, it puts more pressure on everybody else to play their best. Something certain people in the locker room might be tired of. Enough to possibly self-sabotage the team as a form of protest. That is Robinson's theory. He suggested that the defense might not have played their best in the opener against Los Angeles on purpose, blowing multiple coverages, missing so many tackles, and not rushing the passer well. The idea behind it, put the pressure on Dalton to pick up the slack, watch him fail, and accelerate the timeline to get Fields in action. Is it crazy?
It's
of
theory.
Course it is. The idea of an entire still, it's not hard to understand why the idea would come up. There have been multiple instances dating back to 2019 where the Bears defenses seemed to lack energy, although almost knowing that they weren't going to get any help from the offense. That often leads to mistakes and bad games like everybody saw Sunday night. So I'm not saying that's true, but they played, once Justin Fields came in, they played a whole heck of a lot better.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they played good when Andy Dalton was still playing, so
they didn't play bad, but they played a whole lot better. They got 4 takeaways and they stopped the run, and you saw a lot of good things.
I mean, look, if you want to argue that Justin Fields amping up the team is a thing, I can totally buy that. I totally can. And, maybe being frustrated about the whole offensive situation is tiring both mentally and physically. I can buy that. I just don't buy that the defense would intentionally go out there and not play their best.
Yeah, I do find that hard to believe. But going out there and just playing like, there's a difference. Like, you go into your job and you go in there and well rested and you show up and you're like ready to work and you're all geared up because if you get everything done, you can go home early and start like a long weekend or something, versus showing up on a Monday and you're just like, I'm tired. I don't feel like being here. And it takes you a while to get started. I think that's that difference is, are you bringing your A game? And, going out there and knowing that the offense is going to suck probably is real hard to bring your A game.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. It does. And I think that there is a mental component to that. I'm just not sure how intentional it is. I mean, yeah, so I can buy maybe a lack of energy and frustration, and then maybe more energy when Justin Fields come in. I could buy that. And maybe they themselves kind of don't even realize it. They're just so amped up and they're playing better. They're not actively thinking in the moment, wow, we're playing better now that Justin Fields is in there. That's just kind of part of being amped up. But yeah, like I said, I don't buy that they were intentionally downplaying in protest. But with all that said, you saw the Bears defense do what we've wanted them to do, what we think that they're still capable of doing. They got pressure all day on the quarterback. You saw Robert Quinn get a sack. You saw Akeem Hicks disrupt. Akeem Hicks didn't have any sacks, but he was in there making things happen. Khalil Mack got a sack. Roquan Smith made the big play, the interception, and he got a sack himself. And Bilal Nichols got a sack too. And then you
saw that amazing dance.
Yes, you did. And then you got interception from Jalen Johnson. Finally got his first pick. That was really good to see. That was a nice play too. That was
Jalen Johnson played so well today.
He did.
He is going to be a superstar if he stays healthy.
Yeah. I mean, he was reading the routes better than Joe Burrow's receivers.
Yeah, he played exceptionally well. You finally got a sack from Khalil Mack, who just doesn't look like Khalil Mack. I don't know what's going on. I mean, towards the end, you saw some more pressure from him, but just doesn't look like the same guy.
That dominant player we saw a few years ago, yeah.
Yeah, you saw some plays by Eddie Jackson, but that defense, still you have a problem there. I mean, Kindleville looked okay, but your nickels don't look good. Duke Shelley looked bad.
Duke Shelley had a rough game, yeah.
Duke Shelley looked bad. Marquis Christian looked bad last week, and I don't know what you do because neither one of those guys are playing well.
Yeah, that is an issue because we saw Duke Shelley misinterpret what was going to happen, and next thing you knew, the guy had the ball and he was well beyond him.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm not gonna completely exonerate Eddie Jackson from last week because of the strip he caused, because that first touchdown that the Bengals got, that was him whiffing. Like he pulled an Olay on that one.
Yeah. And that was the worst play of the game.
Yes. But this game should
defensively.
This game should have been a laugher. It should have been a runaway. The Bears should have blown them out, and it was a very close game score-wise. And I put a lot of that blame on Matt Nagy. you've got to be aggressive on offense. You've got to be able to do things. And I get that, the quarterback that you plan to start had to come out, but why can't you adjust your offensive play calling mid-game? Like, why do you have no ability to adjust your own playbook? Like, why can't you change up your play calling?
Well, like I said, when you don't have a game plan with your rookie quarterback and then you can't adjust mid-game, that makes things all the more harder for everybody. And you saw how the lack of chemistry and the lack of really a solidified game plan hurt the offense in certain situations. There was a lot that wasn't on sync. There were a lot of penalties. Justin Fields was definitely a little amped, and you saw false starts on him multiple times. And, that's, you're amped. That's great. But,
I go back and look at that. And I think both of those, there was a mix up with the center because he was expecting the ball and the ball didn't come. And that's why it looked like he was flinching and moving back, because he was expecting the ball. In the first one, I'm pretty sure. The second time, I'm positive, because he's screaming for the ball. You could see his mouth. He's screaming, snap the ball. And so I don't know if there was an issue between the signals, between the centers, because here's the thing. When you don't work with a center, especially in a shotgun and silent counts, that's something you have to work on. And Justin Fields is running the scout team, so he's playing with a different center. So I don't know what you expect from him. And there was clearly some issues there. And they got cleaned up a little bit, but this team offensively needs to be cleaner. You've got to clean up those offensive penalties. Mm-hmm. You're not good enough or aggressive enough to win on 3rd and 15, 3rd and 18, 3rd and 12. You're not. You're going to punt. You're going to end up punting. You may pick up a few of those yards, but you're not getting that first down. So, they need to clean that up.
And you got to stop going east to west so many times when you need to pick up more than 2 yards. When you're 3rd and 12 and you're doing dump passes for only 2-yard gains, that shit drives me crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
There's another offensive observation I wanted to make today, and I'm sure you noticed it too. Unlike last week, there was a lot of lack of tight end targeting today.
I tweeted that out. I was like, where have our tight ends been? We kept a guy making $7 million on our roster because of reasons. And we didn't go to him. We didn't go to him in the red zone. We didn't go to him at any point. Like, why are you not going to him? Cole Kmet got, I think, two targets.
One target.
Okay. Did
one
they not
target?
Because there was one where he caught a pass and they called it back because of an offensive.
Yeah, I think the penalty washed that one out.
Yeah. So he got 2 balls.
2 balls.
Yeah, he caught 1 catch and then he had one where there was a penalty. So he got 2 targets and no other tight end even got a target.
Right. Yeah. That 1 target to Cole Kmet, that 1 catch for 0 gain that was it. That was the only target that actually mattered for any tight end in this game. And I thought there was a really good opportunity for Justin Fields to try to target the tight ends when he was in the red zone. I mean, like you said, you're keeping Jimmy Graham. You're paying him a lot of money. You might as well use him to his best advantage, and that's creating mismatches in the red zone. And they never targeted him.
Yeah, and you've kept a lot of tight ends on your roster, and you're not using any of them. What was that purpose?
Right. Right. So if you look at the number of targets total today, Darnell Mooney led with 8. He recorded 6 catches. Allen Robinson was targeted 4 times. He made 2 catches. There you go. There's your number one wide receiver only getting 4 targets a game. Dave Montgomery, your running back, got 4 targets, 18 yards. Marquise Goodwin had 3 targets, made 1 catch. Cole Kmet had the 1 catch, and then 3 targets, 2 catches for Damian Williams. So 0 to Jimmy Graham, 1 to your starting tight end, none to your other tight ends, and only 4 to your number one wide receiver.
The Bears didn't have any punt returns.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't.
It's funny. After the Roquan Smith interception and touchdown return, I started referring to him as Roquan "fuck you, pay me" Smith, because that's really what he's telling everybody. But yeah, the offense, you saw a big connection and a good rapport between Justin Fields and Jesse James through the preseason and through practices. So why aren't you putting him in there and letting him get some targets? Why are you not including your wide receivers? Like this wasn't a game you blew out. You blew them out. I mean, it ended up being a 3-point game. You had between your two quarterbacks, you had 116 yards passing, and your top running back had 61 yards rushing. Like it's not like you were an offensive explosion. You weren't. You weren't, and your offense did not score you enough points to win this game. It took a defensive touchdown. A defensive touchdown was the difference in this game.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you look at the whole situation where you're in good field position and you're having to settle for field goals. I mean, that's something that you cannot do in a lot of these upcoming games. You can't do that against the Browns. You have the Lions coming up, so hopefully you're able to score a lot on them. But then you have other tough opponents you got to play coming up. And, we talked about this tough Bears schedule for a while, and, that's just, you need to score touchdowns. You need to get into the end zone to win a lot of these upcoming games. What I did like, at least with this game, is that if there's any silver lining about the Bears offense, is that at least we're not seeing the absolutely anemic 3-and-outs just yet that we saw well too often in 2019 and 2020. At least they have done a better job of moving the ball and maintaining some possession. The problem is they're just not getting enough points. I mean, I said this last week, it's one thing to move the ball. It's another thing to move the ball and actually be efficient with scoring. Because sure, yeah, you can eat a lot of clock by going 50 yards. You do a lot of dink and dunk plays. You do a lot of small plays. You run the ball a lot. You can eat up a lot of time and move the ball. But, if you're starting at the 25 and then you get 50 yards and that's it, well, then you're settling for field goals again. And you need to just score more. With that being said, I think that their ability to at least move the ball a little better makes me feel maybe a little better about advancements in this offensive system, but maybe I'm being a little too optimistic. But you know what I mean, right? Like, I mean, you remember the last 2 years when there were times when this offense was so anemic that they were going 3-and-out with like negative yards. I think it helps that the running game has been better.
I didn't look at stats, but I believe Mark Sanchez said that the Bears didn't have a 3-and-out last week.
I don't think they did.
And they didn't have very many this week. So they are moving the ball, which is a step forward, but they're baby stepping it. This is how many years under Matt Nagy? What, 4?
Yep.
You've got to be better. You've got to progress this faster. And you've got to utilize the talent around you. You've got all these speedy receivers and you've got a speedy quarterback, and you're not getting him into open space. You're not rolling him out. You're not throwing to receivers on you know, in stride. It's you're wasting everybody's talents.
Right. And just to put it in perspective with the 3 and outs, the first 3 and out they had was the drive in which Allen Robinson saw the ball go right through his hands, and then the bullshit pass interference penalty on Cole Kmet. So, a dropped pass and a penalty that was kind of trash, that kind of doesn't really help things. It's not like it was the worst 3 and out ever. And then the other one, which he had 3 plays that ended in the pick by Justin Fields. And of course that wasn't pretty, but in all other drives, they've at least moved the ball a little bit. And I will say this, if you want to give the Bears some really nice credit, the final drive of the game, it was 20-3, and then boom, blink of an eye, it's 2017. It looks like the Bengals have all the momentum. They put together an 8-play drive, which ends them kneeling in victory formation, because you had the really nice break tackle by Justin Fields where it looked like he was going to be taken down when he was running well short of a first down, but he was able to shake it off and keep going. And then you had the big clutch run by David Montgomery to fight a little bit and get those 4 yards to pass the first down marker and ice the game right then and there. So you got to give him credit for that. I mean, Justin Fields redeemed that interception with that run play to get the first down, and then Dave Montgomery finished it off. That was nice to see, because if you can remember the last 2 years, how many times at these games that came down to the wire where the Bears had a chance to seal it and they had to end up punting it away, at least they didn't give the ball back to the Bengals after they made it a 1-score game.
Yes, and I don't give any of that credit to Matt Nagy. That was just exceptional individual efforts by Justin Fields to get that first down, and also by David Montgomery, who is an absolute beast, and he does not go down on the first tackle, like the first attempt.
He does not.
I said that when the Bears drafted him. I was like, this guy breaks tackles left and right. Like that's what he does.
He's got some nice spin moves. He's able to create mismatches with guys. It's great to see.
Yeah, I think when he was drafted, he led college football in yards after contact and most broken tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And and we didn't see a lot of that his first year, but since then we've seen a whole lot of it. And that's who he is. He is tough to bring down, and the Bears need to utilize that more. And,
absolutely.
And it's been tough though, because that interior offensive line, last week you saw a really, really tough game by Cody Whitehair. And, that sort of happens when you're competing against Aaron Donald. You're going to get blown up, but Sam Mustipher had 2 bad games in a row.
Yeah, the Aaron Donald guy is kind of good.
And James Daniels had a rough game today too. It's that needs to get shored up real quick, because the tackles have actually played okay. And it sucks because I thought Larry Borum had a good game last week for the little bit he was in, and they put him on injured reserve. So it means he's going to miss at least 3 weeks.
That's a tough injury.
Yeah, especially when now you're relying on Jason Peters to stay healthy. He's a 400-year-old man, and he could still play, but you're counting on him. So hopefully Larry returns back healthy soon and comes back at the end of those 3 weeks, because I think the Bears will need him down the stretch.
Absolutely. I wish there was a way we can seek the fountain of youth and just ladle a big, big gulp of water down Jason Peters' gullet.
Well, I mean, even if you could go back to what he was in 2018, just a couple of short years ago, the guy was really good.
Yeah. I mean, he's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, absolutely. And, by the end of the year, we expect to have Larry Borum back. We expect to have Tevin Jenkins back. Wouldn't it be funny if Tevin Jenkins, not funny, funny is the wrong word. Ironic's not the right word. I don't know what the right word is, but if Tevin Jenkins ends up not being who we thought he was, and Larry Borum is the guy that Tevin Jenkins was supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that kind of stuff happens,
Look when the Redskins drafted 2 quarterbacks in the same draft. RG3 was supposed to be the great one, and he fizzled out quick. And Kirk Cousins was the other one, and he's still playing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Man, it's got to be a kicker for RG3 to just keep watching. Hey, that guy's been playing long after I'm done. And still making a lot of money.
Yeah, he is making quite the buck.
But there was another bad play I forgot to talk about with Justin Fields that he ended up making the most of it.
The fumble.
The fumble is he's got to learn to keep 2 hands on the ball. And that is every athletic quarterback has had that same issue coming into the league.
Oh yeah.
Lamar Jackson, Kyler Murray, they've all done it. And that's just a rookie mistake because it's easier to make a flash or a splashy play when you're in an action mode with 1 hand on the ball. So that's going to get cleaned up, but he fumbled and it looked like it was going to be scooped and picked up for a touchdown, and he reached over and got it in a really athletic play.
Yeah, that was insane, actually.
It really was. Like that was probably his best play of the game.
His second biggest oops turned out being one of the most epic plays, because as soon as he lost it, it looked like that was going to be a scoop and a score. And then all of a sudden you see him leap and reach back out and get that ball back. It was like, holy crap. I mean, I could guarantee if most other Bears quarterbacks, if the same thing happened to them, that was going the other way.
Oh, absolutely. And if it was Jay Cutler and, he would have been injured on that.
Yeah, and then he would have gone for a smoke.
Let's see what else. Yeah, A Robinson dropped 2 touchdown passes. Cole Kmet's offensive pass interference, which was weak. It was weak. It was real weak. The other week is the 2 taunting calls.
Yeah,
one on either
both
team.
Of them. That was stupid.
Like, I'm being, neutral here. They were both dog shit. And
oh yeah,
the Bears one was more egregious. The one that the Bengals did, that one was that was soft as 7-ply toilet paper.
I was mad. Like, that benefited my team, and I was mad when that happened. I was mad at the referee when that happened. That was against the other team.
Yeah, it totally benefited the Bears, but big time. And I was like, really? Is that how we're going to officiate this game? It was brutal. Like, I was mad that Deshaun Gibson won, but I was more mad at the other one that benefited the Bears because that's not a penalty. Neither one of them was a penalty.
It's just beyond ridiculous. This whole, we got to crack down on taunting. It's like, yeah, you seem to be more focused on cracking down on taunting than other more important things that need to be addressed. And it's like, really, taunting 15 yards? Like, really? You're going to tack someone up for clapping their hands or saying something to another guy and tack on 15 yards? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it was so dumb. And they've got to clean that up from the league level. Like, listen, that was weak, both of those.
And you know what? Unfortunately, the thing too is that if that's the way they're going to play this game, then I think coaching and the team has to meet together and be like, look, I know this is stupid and this sucks, but we really got to watch the way we talk and we clap and we wag our fingers and whatnot. So, hopefully it's something that at least the Bears won't have too much trouble with, but I feel like everyone's going to have trouble with it at the end of the day because it's subjective and it's soft now.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's, um, I don't like a lot of the weak roughing the passer calls. Another dog shit call that was a dog shit call, but it was a dumb play by Robert Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
Was the late hit
Out of bounds.
That was so dumb on his part. Like, don't touch him. He's already out of bounds. And it was such an acting call or an acting job by Joe Burrow to just flop by getting a slight bump. And the referee totally bit it, throws the flag. Like, that legitimately gave 3 points to the Bengals. They were ready to punt, and they ended up getting a field goal out of that.
Right. And, the thing, though, was as soft as it ended up being, the second you saw that contact being made, you knew that was getting called. You absolutely knew that was getting called.
Yeah, you knew it was getting called, and Robert Quinn was dumb for putting himself in his team in that position. But I don't think he was expecting Joe Burrow to flop like that. Joe Burrow flopped. Like, he looked like he just took a right cross from Mike Tyson in his prime. I mean, like, he fell like, have you ever seen the movie Superbad?
Oh yeah, many times.
When McLovin's trying to buy booze and that guy cold cocks him, that's how Joe Burrow went down. He went down like McLovin.
I love that scene because McLovin does that little when he gets punched. That scene is so if you want to talk about one of the best modern comedies ever made in the 21st century, that's got to be on the list.
Superbad is such a good movie. I love that. That and Step Brothers are like two of my more recent favorites as far as comedies.
My God, I could quote Superbad all day. Even just the scene when Seth has the blood on his jeans. When he realizes it and he starts gagging in the middle of the party. Oh, fuck. Oh, my God. Or the one we always, my brother and I, we always laugh at the scene when they do the Star Wars imitations. You will die. That's Yoda from Attack of the Clones.
I like the one where McLovin's following the girl with the white pants down the hall, and she turns around and he asks her about a pen.
Oh my gosh. Bill Hader in that movie, like him and what's his nuts? Why am I blanking? Seth Rogen. Those two as the cops, like, they were perfect for that role. They, like, just these two just imbeciles that really don't care about their job, but try to act like they care about their job and would rather just go drinking at a bar or setting their squad car on fire or breaking up a party saying, get ready to be boned by the long dick of the law.
That movie's so good.
No one's McLovin. McLovin doesn't exist because that's a dumb fucking fairy tale name, you fuck.
I like when that one scene where Jules and Seth, he tells her he can buy alcohol, and she's like, plus, you scratch our backs, we'll scratch yours. Well, Jules, the funny thing about my back is it's located on my. And then it's just the awkward pause. So should I just get like a random assortment?
Oh, classic, classic. And like it had a good ending too. Like it was like it ended on a really good note. Like, if you did like a philosophical study of Superbad, you say, this kind of embodies like both human nature growing up and how people do end up growing up. Because at the end, it's like you have Becca taking responsibility for puking on Jules's parents' bed and, trying to make right of it. And then her apologizing. And then you have Seth and, his buddy. They talk about how him and McLovin are going to room together, and it's like, okay, you grow up and you mature. Like I think it's a good ending. It's not like just a stupid campy ending. Like there's like actual meaning behind it. I think that's what part of makes the movie so good.
I would agree. But yeah, back to the Bears. You know, the good thing is it seemed like they got away from this game without any serious injuries other than Dalton, which I don't know. I don't know how serious that is. But Dalton's, got injured, but nobody else. I don't think I saw any other injuries. We still didn't have Eddie Goldman. He's still, no
MIA.
show. Yeah, MIA for the mandatory mini camps and showed up at training camp, but didn't play much. Hasn't played in either game. But other than that, you seem like you've maintained your health. You had a bunch of injuries going in. You still don't have Tariq Cohen. So hopefully they could start healing some guys up and maintain the health of the guys they have, because this is a tough schedule that they have going forward.
Yeah, and you can't really afford to have any more defensive injuries. Your cornerbacks are really thin. Your safeties are thin. You already have Danny Trevathan out, so you don't want to see any more linebacking core guys getting hurt. So, yeah, you're right. The defensive guys have stayed, the ones that have at least been on the field, they've stayed healthy. And, the thing is, if you're going to see Andy Dalton miss a few games, well, then you have Justin Fields playing. So, but, with other positions, there are a lot of places that are thin and you don't want to see any big major injuries there. And yeah, it's only 2 weeks in, but every week you could keep a lot of key guys healthy, especially the NFL. That's always a blessing.
Absolutely. And, looking at this game, and I sort of want to break it up into quarters to finish up this first quarter of the season. You've got the Browns next week in Cleveland. Then you come home and you play the Lions at home. And we don't know what we have in the Lions here. We saw the one game last week and they scored a bunch of points. They gave up a lot of points, but they scored a bunch of points. And then you can start piecing things together. You're like, okay, well, the 49ers played again this week, who was their opponent last week, and they won, but they didn't look so good. And their defense looked okay today. So does the Lions offense look okay, but their defense is terrible?
I have to ask this too. Was those garbage time points or was them legit looking good? I do think the Lions do have some decent weapons that can make things work. I don't know if it's really a high powered offense.
Yeah. I mean, it might have been garbage time. I didn't watch the game. I only saw the highlights. So it's tough. It's tough to say either way. And I'm just pausing right now. The Kansas City Chiefs are in a 3rd and 39 right now.
Yeah, I got the game on too. Yeah, Lamar Jackson's thrown 2 picks already.
What's funny is, so my fantasy league, I hate fantasy football. It's dumb, but I keep getting suckered into playing in this league, and I'm up 209 to 153 in this game. and he has Lamar Jackson, or whoever I'm playing has Lamar Jackson, and I have Pat Mahomes and Harrison Butker, their kicker. And then tomorrow night, we both have our tight ends playing. He's got TJ Hawkinson and I have Robert Tonyan. So as of right now, Pat Mahomes has 16 points and Lamar Jackson has -4.
Yeah.
So ESPN
yeah.
is saying I have a 99% chance to win.
There you go. I lost by like 2 points last week. It was frustrating.
I won last week, but it was pretty close. What? Why aren't you? Let's see week 1. I want to see week 1. Scoreboard week 1. I won 259 to 233, and so we're in a league. It's weird. We can start 2 quarterbacks, and quarterbacks get so many points. So Nick Chubb had 83 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns last week, and he got 39 points. Pat Mahomes threw for 337 and 4 touchdowns and 71 points. Matt Stafford was 321 for 3 touchdowns and had 63 points. So I rode Pat Mahomes, Nick Chubb, and Matt Stafford to the victory.
Dang.
So it's funny, all the analysts or the draft analysts are like, oh, make sure you draft running backs first. Don't take a quarterback to like the 3rd round. My league, it's like 9 of the first 10 picks are quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing too with fantasy is different leagues have different rules and regulations, so it's not always consistent with what happens. But I could tell you this: whoever has Derrick Henry in fantasy today is going to be happy.
Oh yeah, he played a good game. Let's see who had him. Looks for whoever had high points. He had 92 points in my league.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So it's the guy that I beat last week.
Of course.
So that's good. Yeah, it's always funny when somebody struggles to score points in one week and then the other week they absolutely just dominate.
Yeah, that's what happens. I mean, you look at some of today's games and you saw a lot of things that looked bad or good last week have the complete opposite effect this week. I mean, look how good the Saints looked last week against the Packers, and then this week the Panthers and Sam Darnold steamed all over Jameis Winston and the Saints.
Sam Darnold has looked good both games this year. It's almost like it was the Jets and not him.
Well, look at Sam Wilson with the Jets now. It's been brutal.
I feel that organization is
Zach Wilson. Sorry.
Zach Wilson.
Yeah, sorry.
The Jets are a hot doo-doo organization. Like straight up hot doo-doo.
Dog turd tacos, as you like to say.
It's true. They are dog turd tacos. Like they got like the Patriots didn't do anything big to them. Like you look at the stats, Mac Jones had 186 yards. Their leading rusher had 62 yards. Their leading receiver had 45 yards. It's not like they were this offensive juggernaut. It is just the Jets are terrible. And it's funny because last week we talked about this rookie class of quarterbacks had a really good week. And then this week, it was like the polar opposite. So Zach Wilson had 210 yards passing, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions for a 37 quarterback rating. Mac Jones played all right. He had 186 yard passings, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He was literally a game manager.
Right.
We already talked about Justin Fields. He had a little bit of a rough game. Jaguars is Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence had 118 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions for a 37.2 quarterback rating. And what's his name that the 49ers drafted? He didn't even play. So, you see the the league will eventually catch young quarterbacks. It's what they do.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing to look at is, Trevor Lawrence's numbers don't look absolutely incredible yet. You see Justin Fields' numbers look great. I mean, it's young quarterbacks, yeah, you'll see some step right into the limelight and some will take a little time. I mean, Brett Favre, his first year as a member of, what was it, the Falcons?
He was a Falcon.
Didn't look like anything special.
No,
and
otherwise we wouldn't
happened.
have traded him away.
Right. Exactly. So, it's 2 games in. It's really hard to judge a lot of these rookies. But, I mean, with Zach Wilson's situation, I mean, regardless of how good or bad he is in a bad situation.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Terrible situation. I'm re-looking at this Bears schedule, and it looks worse than I thought. So they're 1-1 right now. They face the Browns next week, which is going to be a real tough game. I think the Browns are legit.
Yes, they are.
They face the Lions, who that should be a win. Then they face the Raiders in Vegas.
And they look good so far.
Offensively, they look phenomenal.
But will they keep it up? That's the question.
Then you get the Packers, who we can't beat the Packers.
Right.
Then Tampa Bay. And I watched them. They are just unstoppable on offense.
Yeah.
It's tough. Then you get the 49ers, who I don't think they're world beaters, but I think they're solid.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Then the Steelers.
I think we could beat them.
Ravens.
I think if the pass rush is good, Ben Roethlisberger is going to have a tough time.
Yeah, but the problem is it hasn't been.
Oh, it was better today.
Then you get the Ravens. Then you get the Lions again. Then the Cardinals. Then the Packers. Then the Vikings. Then the Seahawks. Then the Giants. Then the Vikings. Like, that is a brutal schedule.
You look at the schedule and you say, yeah, there are games you could win, but there are really the closest thing to a gimme game are the Lions. But even if the Lions aren't good this year, I don't think they're going to be the Matt Patricia, they're just going to roll over and die Lions. I think they're going to give you a good fight.
Yeah. So I think you start out this first quarter 2-2. That Raiders game is going to be tough.
Yeah.
That second quarter of the season, at best, I think they go 1-3.
Yeah, I could see it. It's tough.
The next quarter then is Steelers, Ravens, Lions, and I'm sorry,
you could go 2-1.
Wait, so on. So wait, 1, 2, 3, 4. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and the Steelers, Ravens, Lions, Cardinals.
Steelers, Ravens, Lions, Cardinals. 2-2, maybe 3-1 if things go your way.
I think at that Cardinals team, that offense looked real good. They lit up the their defense looks terrible.
Yeah, their defense does not look good.
So I think you got a chance if you can establish the run, and you don't give up the explosive plays to Kyler Murray. So maybe 2-2, maybe. And then that last quarter, I'll put the 5 games in there. You got Packers, Vikings twice, Seahawks, and Giants.
I think you beat the Giants. I think you split with the Vikings. I never have any faith in beating Green Bay. And then
I don't think you're in Seattle, I believe.
I don't
So 2,
I don't feel too
4,
good about
5.
that one.
So yeah, you're looking at like 7-10, maybe.
Yeah.
Is that good enough to keep your job if you're Matt Nagy?
If you're sub 500 at this point, no. I don't think so. I think you need to have at least a competitive season. And while 7-10, I mean 7-10 is several games below 500, so it's somewhat competitive but not good. It's like a step below mediocre and a step above bad. So I don't think that 7 is really good enough to maintain a job, but this is the Bears we're talking about here.
They'll be like, well, we have a lot of collaboration. We're collaborating with the collaboration, and we've got really good collaboration, and all the options are on the table, and we're going to collaborate when we collaborate on the table, and a lot of good things will happen. And in COVID, it was tough on everybody.
We opened up a restaurant called Collaboration, but the N at the end is a big N, and the one of the L's is a big L, so it's fancy.
Oh man, I'm just so fed up with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. Is just put a winner on the field.
Yeah, we've been begging for a winner for a long time.
One thing I didn't mention, and it's not really per se about the Bears. This is the first time I think I've heard Mark Sanchez in the booth. He was all right.
Yeah, good for him, honestly. I like seeing new guys come into the booth and do well.
Yeah, because the Bears always get a shitty announcer, because they're always like the D game. Like they get like the 4th best announcing team on Fox for their noon game.
And then when you do get like a regional Fox game, it's against the Packers or the Cowboys, and Joe Buck is fawning over the other team.
Yeah. But Mark Sanchez, if we get him more often, I'm all right with that. Like it wasn't like oh my God, why am I drawing a blank on his name? He played for the Cowboys, not Troy Aikman. He's on
Tony Romo.
Tony Romo. Tony Romo's phenomenal.
He's
like
fun.
It's weird because like he's not textbook good, but his insight in the game is so good. He's just like, they're going to run this here. And you're just like, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's been fun since the beginning. He puts good enthusiasm and gives good analysis at the same time. That's the kind of stuff that I think people like to hear. And I always enjoy when Tony Romo is doing the game. And like, honestly, it can make football fans feel bad for giving him so much crap during his career because, yeah, he threw some interceptions and he wasn't very good in the playoffs, but he overall had a really good career. And right now he seems to really enjoy the broadcasting gig.
Yeah. And I listened to I watched most of the Vikings Cardinals game today, and they had Gus Johnson with Aqib Talib. That was not a good broadcasting pair. Greg Olsen, I don't know. I'm not that impressed by him. So you got that Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olsen pairing. Meh. Usually we get the Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth pairing, and I'm not a fan of that announcers. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma. Meh. I would be more than happy out of looking at who these. So here's the announcing crews for Fox for 2021. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman are the the number one unit. Kevin Burkhardt, Greg Olson, Adam Amin, Mark Schlereth, Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilma, Chris Myers, Daryl Johnston, Kevin Kugler, Mark Sanchez, and Gus Johnson, Aqib Talib.
Yeah, I mean, outside Aikman and Buck, it's really kind of changed over the years. I mean, I remember when most games were like Tom Brenneman. Tom Brenneman was kind of like, he wasn't number one, but he was like the number two guy basically. And that's usually where the Bears kind of fell in my youth because they were competitive enough and, on a big market, but they weren't the Cowboys.
Yeah. So I'm actually, if that becomes our go-to team, is the Mark Sanchez, Kevin Kugler pairing, I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain at all.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Yeah. I don't know. You want to talk a little baseball?
Sure. I only have a few baseball thoughts on my mind, but I'll share them.
Go for them.
Well, I mean, really, I just wanted to say congratulations to Patrick Wisdom for breaking the all-time Cubs rookie record for home runs. Today, he hit his 27th home run and hasn't even played a full season. So good for him. Good for you, Patrick Wisdom. Clap. Oh, and also, Frank Schwindel is still a tank.
He really is. I mean, at this point, it's not it's not even like this has become fluky territory. This is a good sample size. And he's got a slash line of 363, 408, 673 with an OPS of 1080.
I mean, it's really dang good. And he's got nice discipline too. It's not like, Patrick Wisdom, he has some good at bats, but he's got a lot of holes in his swings. You see a lot of strikeouts from him, but
today he hit that 27th home run, but he had 4 strikeouts.
Exactly. I mean, that pretty much sums up Patrick Wisdom. With Frank Schwindel, he's got a pretty nice approach, a pretty professional approach.
Yeah, it was funny because I was listening to the game on the radio yesterday. I was running an errand and I was like, oh, runners in scoring position, and they have Frank Schwindel up. I'm like, that is the guy I want up. Or maybe it was Friday. And he struck out. I was like, damn it. It must have been, was it Corbin Burns pitch yesterday or was that Friday?
I don't really remember. I didn't watch much this weekend. Kind of all blends together. I mean, regardless, the first 2 losses, it was the same thing. You had a slight lead and then you melted down in the 8th inning. So.
Oh no, it must have been Friday. Wait, why am I? The heck happened here? No, I'm trying to pull up the box scores yesterday. Who pitched for the Brewers? No, it was yesterday. It was Burns.
Okay.
Yeah. Frank Schwindel struck out with runners in scoring positions. Like, well, that's weird. I'm not expecting that one. But we're getting right down to the end of the season here, and Christian Yelich still sucks. He's not Christian Yelich from before he signed that big extension.
No, and I know he's had a lot of injury issues, so that might be catching up to him. Doesn't really seem to matter for the Brewers, though. They already won the division. I think they clinched it on Saturday with their win. So insult to injury to the Cubs fan that got to watch the Brewers start what could be a long run for them. But you know what? Like I said, props to the Brewers. They're a much better organization right now.
They really are. But what can you do? You just got to go out there and be better.
Yeah.
This was this week you played 2 tough opponents. You had the Phillies coming to town and
we went to Philly.
I'm sorry. You're right. We went to Philly and they kicked the shit out of us. And then we played the Brewers and, they did well against us. Yeah. What do you expect? And that Thursday game was that was the brutal one for me. That was the Cubs went up 7-0 and lost 17-8.
How many times has that happened this year? It's happened multiple times.
Yes, this like the third or fourth time where they've been up by more than 5 runs and then they lose by more than 5 runs or something like that. It's been a lot, way more than you would expect.
And here's the thing that really bugged me about that one against the Phillies. And I wrote an article about this to kind of talk about this whole issue. Kyle Hendricks got bombed again.
Oh, yeah, he got smoked.
So I wrote this article for Cubby's Crib, and I have some stats I'd like to share with you regarding Kyle Hendricks. Okay. So this year, he's got a 4.81 ERA, a 4.92 fielding independent pitching, a 1.4 whip, 10 hits per 9 in 30 starts. Now, his career worst ERA prior to this year was 2015 when he had a 3.95 ERA, and his highest ever FIP was 2017, 3.88. So you take the ERA where it is now, 4.81 versus the previous career worst, 3.95, and the FIP that's almost at 5 was never above 3.8 before. Now, here's the really eye-opening part. Thursday's 7 earned runs charged to Hendricks was the 5th time he surrendered 7+ earned runs in a start this season. 5 times, 7 earned runs, okay? This year. He's only done that twice before in his entire career.
Yeah, he's just not been good this year.
And you look for the reasons why. And you look at a lot of the numbers, you're like, okay, the ground ball rate, the fly ball rate, that's all pretty much the same. I mean, the proportions aren't all that different on how much percent he's getting on the ground versus in the air or line drives or whatever. You're seeing more good contact because for those who don't know, barrels is a stat from StatCast. And to define it, it's a batted ball comparable hit type that leads to a minimum of a 500 average and 1.5 slugging based on launch angle and exit velocity. That is what a barrel is. So this year, his barrels against percent is 8% with 45 total. His previous high in a season was 31 barrels, 5.2%. That was in 2018. So you're looking at a career high in barrels against and a percentage that you look at his previous season high of 5.2, that's a raise to pretty much 3%. And, it may not seem like a lot, but, in all in hindsight, the more batted balls you give up, obviously, the more likely chance you're going to give up hits. And he's given up more hits than any starting pitcher or pitcher period in baseball. No other pitcher has given up more hits than Kyle Hendricks this year. Some of it is bad luck. Some of it is just him getting hit hard. But at the end of the day, he's just not executing. And that's what he'll be the first one to tell you that. He's just not executing. And this is where you look at Kyle Hendricks and say, look, you were good for a very long time. And I'm not saying that you're not going to bounce back next year. With that said, if you want to contend soon, you're going to have to bring in an ace with stuff. You don't have a lot of room for error with Kyle Hendricks because you work to get contact ground ball with an occasional swing and miss using soft stuff and changing speeds. There's very little room for error with that. You need an ace that can miss bats and just blow smoke by guys. It's just where you are now. I'm fine with keeping Kyle Hendricks, obviously, in the future. I just don't think he should be an ace going forward. That's my whole spiel.
Yeah, we've mentioned this numerous times before. When you are a soft tosser, you have to be flawless. When you're not, it's easy to tee off on you. If you're not hitting your spots, like Corbin Burns yesterday was not hitting his spots, but he's got good stuff and he's got velocity. And, even when when you're not hitting your locations and you're being erratic or throwing outside, you're going to have guys that just swing anyway, and just the sheer velocity of it is going to cause misses, and you're also going to have just missing it. When you're trying to hit a 97 mile an hour fastball, 96 mile an hour fastball, is not just hitting it, but getting a good barrel on it and then not hitting it at somebody. It's a low percent that you're going to actually do that. And, even if the pitcher's not hitting his mark, if you're throwing an 86, 88 mile an hour fastball, that, 8-10 mile an hour difference is huge.
It is. And, if you're nibbling around the plate like Kyle Hendricks has tended to do this season, then when you're nibbling and you're not getting chases, you're all of a sudden it's hitters counts. And when you got to make a pitch, you're going to have to put it in the zone. And if you don't execute by the slightest bit, it's going to be right over the heart and it's going to get smacked.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So it's tough, and the Cubs offense hasn't been bad even after trading everybody away. I mean, you've got solid numbers from Ortega. Schwindel has been great. Happ has been way better as of late. Wilson Contreras hasn't been giving you a ton.
At least he's been hitting for some power.
Patrick Wisdom is giving you power and decent numbers. So, you've got guys that are the top of your orders actually doing things,
Yeah, for sure. I think if you want to look at the best news right now within the Cubs is that Brennan Davis is off to a very good start in AAA. I don't know if you've been paying any attention to that.
I have. He's been clobbering the ball since he got moved up.
Yeah. So his first 24 ABs, he's got 10 hits, 3 home runs, and an OPS of 1.315. So that's good to see.
I wonder how long before they bring him up.
I would love to see him get a taste of the big leagues.
I mean, we're in September. We're mid-September.
Yeah, it's 2 more weeks left, basically.
We're running out of real estate with the season. So I don't know why you wouldn't.
Give him a taste. And you know what? If he struggles, he struggles. It's a small sample size, and at least you know where to work on certain things. You got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Cubs only have a handful of series left. Give him a taste. Let him play. Let him see what he can do.
Exactly.
You're counting on him. Like, he's an important cog in what you're going to be doing for the future. So why not, give him that experience?
Yeah. He's played 3 levels already. He's played in high A, double A, triple A. You put those stats together, you get a 270, 379, 513 slash with an 891 OPS and 18 home runs. That ain't too shabby.
Nope. Not at all. Not at all. So I mean, I don't know what I expect from the Cubs. It's just they're a bare bones team, and you're facing playoff caliber teams. Like the Phillies are catching up real quick to Atlanta. They might win that division. Milwaukee's gonna win this division. They already won. They already won. So it's what do you expect to do against these teams when you have no pitching and you've got a bunch of has-beens and a bunch of nobodies on your team?
Yeah, exactly. It's just, you're just trying to get to the end and get to the off season at this point. And it was really nice to see last weekend against the Giants. It was nice to see Nick Madrigal with the team. It was kind of his first official introduction as a Cub. And he's obviously going through rehab. We're not going to see him play until next year, but it's good to see that that's all going smoothly because he's a very important cog for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's really important. And so seeing him, you know, and now that he's rehabbing and hopefully you get a healthy guy and now you've got Nico Horner back. I don't know, maybe you can start piecing together what you're going to look like next year or get a glimpse of kind of what the future looks like.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much have an idea of what you want your middle field, the middle of your infield to look like in the future. You have Nico Horner at shortstop, and then you have Nick Madrigal over at second. And, if those two guys are indeed your future and they work out, then, the goal is to have two high contact, high athletic guys that could make plays both with the bat and on the field. So, I'm looking forward to watching that when the time comes. And, when Madrigal's with the Sox, I always said, okay, he can play a good role and he's really, a nice guy to have. But I think with the Cubs, he plays so important with the Cubs because they have not had a lot of these super high contact guys, in a while. And you saw a lot of holes in the swings of the Cubs where you need a guy like that. You need a scrappy guy that can just put the ball in play.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. I think those guys are important in a postseason run.
For sure.
So you've got those scrappy guys. Now you just got to put a roster around them.
Yeah. No kidding.
The White Sox this week, I think they did okay. I mean, for a team that is running away with their division, their magic number's got to be real close. 4. Okay.
As we talk on Sunday night. So it's just any day now they're going to win the division, and that's going to be just another thing checked off. So it honestly, it feels like they're just kind of coasting right now.
Yeah. And that's kind of what they're doing. And you played two pretty weak teams in the Angels and the Texas Rangers.
They playing the Texans. Wow.
Yeah. Deshaun Watson was out there, shagging fly balls. But they played the Texas Rangers and the Anaheim Angels. And neither one of those teams are world beaters, but you win the series against Texas 2-1 and you lose the series to the Angels. And, it does seem like they're coasting. Their foot is off the gas. At least you got a decent performance out of Dallas Keuchel this week.
Yeah. Even in a loss, he did much, much better. And I think they were talking about on the radio, there was some frustration between Moncada and him. I think there was a misplay or an error, and he was clearly not happy about it. I honestly don't really know what it was about, but I don't think it was really even that significant to really talk or worry about it too much. So, whatever. But at least, if you're a Sox fan and you've been frustrated with Dallas Keuchel, at least you finally got to see him pitch a decent game.
Yeah, I think that's important is, he's probably, I don't know, he's probably going to be in your postseason rotation. I would imagine, even if he didn't deserve it. Why, so you want to see good performance out of him, especially coming down the wire here.
Here's one thing that I can't wrap my mind around of when it comes to the White Sox pitching. One start, Dylan Cease looks like a future Cy Young winner, and then he'll go out and get bombed the next start. I just, some of the inconsistency with him, I don't feel like I know which one is going to show up.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's what the numbers are showing. That's what the outings are showing. It's not just the eyeball test. It's what the numbers show. And, you just need, I think if you're the White Sox, I don't think you need every night to be an ace performance. You don't need, one hitters or no hitters from everybody to win.
Oh, of course not.
I think what you need is is consistent performances. So you know what you're going to get. You're not going to have, one inning where you strike out the side and then the next 2 innings you're giving up 3 spots in each inning. I think you want a consistent performance and keep your team in the game, because that offense can really, really score some runs. You just need to be competitive. And, we saw the starters from this rotation really carry you for the huge chunk of the season. Now that they're hitting a little bit of a rough patch, hopefully that's just a speed bump. And, you see the offense now that Tim Anderson is back start to get better. And, you hope you figure out what it is mentally going wrong with your bullpen. Because you've got all the talent in the world. You just need to put it together. And
there's one saving grace of the bullpen. Liam Hendricks has been a lot better lately. Like, he's been dominant lately.
Right. But what you need is this is why you went out and got Tony La Russa for this time of year. And he better come through with you for all the bullshit that he's put you through.
Yeah, for sure. Or at least win in spite of him. I will give Tony this, they seem, even though they've been coasting, it seems like, maybe I'm overthinking this, but it seems like Tony La Russa, as old school as he is, I feel like he's getting a better grasp of what a lot of these guys can do. I know the Craig Kimbrell thing is kind of weird, but, acquiring a closer while you already have a closer is kind of weird to begin with. But I feel like in terms of where to put guys in the lineup, he seems to have a pretty solid grasp of where to put guys.
Right.
And maybe Sox fans will disagree, guys who actually watch the Sox more frequently than I do. So I could be wrong on that, but I just felt like with Rick Renteria, every single lineup that would come out, people would go, what the hell? What are you doing? Why are you putting Yonder Alonso in the cleanup spot? Or why is Wellington Castillo in the cleanup? So like, there's always questions where like the lineup now seems just a bit more well put together, I guess, by Tony La Russa. And, let's face it, like or dislike Tony La Russa, he knows how to put a lineup together. He always has.
Well, and he just got ejected and suspended too for I think it was Thursday's game.
Yeah,
Wednesday's
Wright
game.
hit Ohtani, I think, on the first pitch or whatever.
Yeah, but Wright was erratic that the whole time he was in.
Oh yeah, I think it's garbage. I mean, I do.
And Tony La Russa went out there and had some choice words, which good. You gotta get thrown out a few times a season. Like, I think that's a rite of passage, and it just shows your team that you're committed and you're fully invested.
Yeah, I mean, just ask Lou Piniella.
But Mike Wright got a 3-game suspension for that hit.
Yeah, I think that's silly. I don't think it was intentional.
I don't think it was intentional either, but you protect your superstar.
Yeah. I mean, if it was somebody not named Shohei Ohtani, if it was, I don't know, some random schmuck, probably be a little different.
So come postseason, you're the White Sox. Who's your right fielder? You go with Gavin Sheets, Andrew Vaughn, Adam Engel.
Maybe platoon of Engel and Vaughn, if that's possible. I don't know. Gavin Sheets has come up with some really big hits, but I'd rather have Andrew Vaughn in there if I were a White Sox fan.
I mean, Adam Engel's had some nice play this year, and Andrew Vaughn has been, his slash line is all right. And he's really grown as a fielder. We were not expecting anything from him, and he's come out and played left field, first base, second base, third base, right field. He's played a variety of places.
Yeah, give him some credit. He's done a better job than expected. And Like, there's no doubt that Adam Engel's a better fielder. Like, no
right.
question. But Andrew Vaughn has held his own.
Right. And, Gavin Sheets has been really productive in AAA, and he's gotten some big hits for you in the bigs. He's got a left-handed bat that's nice. It's I don't know. I think that's going to be a huge decision for Tony La Russa on how he handles that one.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any of them are a terrible option, but I don't think any of them is a good option either. It's really going to be finding the right matchup. And, sometimes it's nice to have that freedom where you don't feel obligated to play somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's sometimes where you're just like, shit, like with the, if the prior to the big trades, like you're always going to play Anthony Rizzo at first, even if Anthony Rizzo, the lefty righty matchup is not in favor of you, and he might have terrible stats at that ballpark against that pitcher, but you're going with him anyway, because you're sort of obligated. But in this situation, you're not obligated to play any of those guys. You do have a blank slate. So it comes down to, if you were any manager that's under 400 years old, you're probably going to go with analytics.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're Tony La Russa, you're gonna dig deep into your bag of TW, and whatever your ulcer tells you is the right guy to go with. I think in some ways that's actually kind of cool, because you can, if you decide to play Vaughn and he goes 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, that's on you, man. Like, you chose him. But if he comes, you put him in there and he hits the game-winning home run, you look like the hero. You made the right lineup call. Like, that's what postseason baseball and late season baseball down the stretch is all about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And can I just say, I like to picture the TW bag as like this old dusty canvas bag that just, like, every time like you open it, just a big cloud of dust comes out and like a moth, and it's got like patchwork everywhere of like different colored like canvas patch just crudely sewed on it. It's just labeled TW.
You just see this like a dusty old mule come up, and it's like an old saddle bag, and it's got grime all over it, and matted hair and sweat from the mule because it's hot outside. You reach in there and you're like, yeah, I got a big handful of TW.
The TW label on it is like super faded.
It's like burned into the bag, into the leather bag with a brand. The brand's starting to fade. It wasn't an even heated brand, so it's partly burned in one spot and partly faded in the other.
Oh, that's a funny visualization.
Got that bag of TW.
Oh yeah.
Hawk Harrelson, he wakes up from his nap when he feels somebody open the TW bag. He just like pops up like Dracula coming out of his coffin. He just bolts upright. It's like, somebody in the TW bag. I feel him digging deep.
That's wonderful. Just opens it on up and just reaches in there.
Oh man, the TW bag.
That sits right next to the Marty Havlat crock pot.
Well, you don't want to dig into that because you'll burn yourself with meatball sauce. What's happened to him? He got 3rd-degree burns reaching into the he confused the Marty Havlat crock pot with a TW bag.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Oh man. he's at the hospital, and they're just like, what do we do for this? And we're gonna. He's like, we're going 20 cc's of gumption, and we'll go back and look at the tape.
And then you have one doctor that you're trying to explain it to him, and he goes, "What the flying hell is a Marty Havlat crock pot?"
You just see like the nurse in the background just like,
What a way to go to the hospital because of a Marty Havlat crock pot and a TWTW bag that is older than time.
Did you ever watch The Office?
Oh my God, I've watched The Office 10 trillion times.
I just want to re-edit this episode where Michael couldn't come to work because he stepped on his George Foreman grill.
Oh my God.
And change it to he stepped into his Marty Havlat crock pot. He got 3rd-degree burns.
You burned your foot on a Marty Havlat crock pot. This scene when he's trying to go to the bathroom and he gets stuck between the toilet and the wall. No, not you. Go get Ryan. Ryan's dead.
Oh man, that episode is that whole show is so good.
I think the very best are seasons 2 through 5.
Absolutely. Those are just home runs.
Yeah, I mean, everything was hilarious. Like, season 2 got off on such a great note with the Dundies.
The Dundies are classic.
Season 2 has got a lot of the really good stuff. Like, I think season 2 was Office Olympics as well.
Is that? Oh man, that's such a good one too.
Yeah.
With the Dundies. I mean the Office Olympics. With they had the one where they put the cases of paper on their feet, and Jim makes the medals out of old paper clips and old yogurt lids.
One side is bronze, the other side is gold, no flipping.
I've heard rumors that there's going to be an Office reboot.
I've heard rumors too, but like, is anything actually solidified? Like, I've just heard speculation. That's all I've really heard.
I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It's weird to have a reboot this soon. Like maybe someday.
Right. It only will be good if Steve Carell's part of it,
You need everybody back.
Right, yeah. I mean, you need all the main characters back. You need Steve Carell, John Krasinski, Rainn Wilson, Jenna Fisher, BJ Novak. You need all those guys.
Yeah. You need, you can't do it without that great cast. You definitely need Stanley back.
Oh yeah, you need Stanley,
Kevin, Angela,
Oscar,
Meredith.
Meredith.
She is one of my favorite characters. You can't make a main episode about her, but she is such a classic side character. It's amazing.
Had sex with a terrorist. I didn't want to put it on the board, but it was going to come out eventually. So what are you going to do?
Creed. You need Creed.
Oh yeah, of course. Creepy Creed in the background. Andy Bernard. You got to bring the Nard dog back, and
you got to have the Nard dog. Toby Flenderson.
Oh yeah, I mean you need someone for Michael to hate.
Yeah, but you cannot bring back Gabe. No Gabe. No Nelly.
No.
You got to find a way to bring Roy back.
Yeah, you do.
And Karen Filippelli.
Oh, I loved her.
No Robert California.
No.
You do need Bob Vance Refrigeration.
You got to have Cousin Mose.
You need Mose. What about Pete and Clark.
Pete and Clark, I actually didn't mind. They were okay.
You need Holly.
Yes,
You need Todd Packer.
You need David Wallace.
You need David Wallace.
David Wallace is one of my absolute favorite characters on the show because it's not what he does that's funny. It's how he tries to maintain normalcy with all of the craziness that happens around it. Like it goes so well together.
Yes. Let's see. If you go back and watch The Office, Pam has two different moms.
Yeah. You had a younger actress when she first appeared, and then the one
season one, and then the
show.
Season one had a different one than the one that dated Michael.
Helene, you dated my mom. Oh yeah, of course.
No, you don't need Charles Minor. No Charles.
No, that was a short-term character. Though I kind of liked him, not gonna lie. Like I didn't like him, but it was good to have that character that was like the opposite of Michael.
Well, it was he hated Jim.
Right.
Can you get me that rundown? Oh, yeah, I'm working on that rundown.
I'm working real hard on it. You're working really hard? No, I'm not working real hard. Oh, you gotta have Kelly Kapoor. You forgot Kelly Kapoor.
What about Jan Levinson Gould?
Yeah, come on. You loved to hate her.
I liked her when she still worked for Dunder Mifflin. When she became like the weird hippie lady at the end was not as good.
I did like, though, the baby shower episode where she's like singing to the baby and Jim walks in, hears it for like 2 seconds, looks at the camera, nods, and then turns around. Or when she explains the tub birth and then Creed called it like the tide on Omaha Beach.
No Joe Bennett.
Nah.
No Saber at all.
Nah. And Joe wasn't even that bad of a character, but we don't need any of that.
No, that was just you don't need that.
Oh, you gotta have Daryl back.
You gotta have Daryl. It would be funny to work D'Angelo Vickers back in somehow. Will Ferrell.
Yeah, that was short term, but I didn't mind him I know other people didn't like him. I was okay with him on the show.
I hope they bring the IT guy back, the one that Michael hated.
Oh yeah.
He just hated that guy for no reason. It was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would be so happy though, the first scene that they would show Stanley Hudson. Like it would make me so happy. I think what they need to do is they need to show Stanley Hudson on a beach with red wine in one hand and a pretzel in the other. Pretzel Day. That is a fantastic episode.
That is such a good episode. Pretzel Day.
The works. You got it.
But is there anything else you want to talk about?
No, I think I said my piece.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. It's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, Alex Pat Sports Chat.blogspot.com, and Facebook Alex Pat Sports Chat. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. And until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like Denver New Yorkers. Smoking crack is not legal on planes.
Bears 31 to -7.
The Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing